losers.
Also, I'm always like, what are you doing on the tracks, idiot? Maybe you deserve to die.
They were tied there by the villain in Dudley Do-Right.
Oh, fuck. Snidely Whiplash?
Snidely Whiplash. They
This-
were
can
tied
you
there by
believe this shit?
Snidely Whiplash.
Do you believe she didn't know Snidely Whiplash's name?
Do any of them know Snidely Whiplash?
One of the greatest villain names in history, in the history of cartoons.
I don't...
Snidely Whiplash.
I know
How do
who
you
Snidely
forget?
Whiplash
That's
is.
the best name.
Give me a break. What does a dog do? Here's a dog. Ready? Here's a nose.
That's a bird.
Nope, it's a dog.
You're drawing a bird, ma'am.
It's a dog.
Ma'am, I'm afraid you're drawing a bird.
Nope, this is a dog.
Oh, I'm sorry, it's a goat.
Nope, this is a dog.
It's a goat with a
It's
a goat with a problem.
It's funny because I'm actually pretty good at drawing, okay, losers?
But drawing with a mouse is harder.
Okay, here's a dog.
The goat's got to get that one leg looked at quick.
Here's a dog. What does a dog do?
Dog goes meow. Fuck!
It's the Casey and Zoe thing.
All right, I think
It's
you
time
should.
to get going.
Yeah, I think you should get class started.
Not complicated at all. Okay, so
Everybody, clown college is in session with
So-
your professor. Show her respect. With your
and
professor.
participate.
Yeah, feel free to throw in your thoughts in the chat, ask questions in the chat.
Yeah, because what I'm gonna really be doing is like talking to you just to keep the
Yes.
thing moving.
But,
But
yeah.
guys, participate. I'm gonna ask
Participate.
questions to the class.
Yeah. This won't just be a lecture. It's a discussion.
No, we're gonna have fun because ethics teachers are fucking boring.
I'm
I'm sorry, ethics is so fun, and ethics teachers suck.
All right, get ready, everyone. Zoe's about to reinvent
I
teaching
said I want to be a
ethics.
hot teacher.
Yeah.
This is like all I've ever wanted. Okay. So-
Correct, Ragnats. You got it.
Let's get over to this pencil. So I don't
When
know.
when Zoe says her mom, it's the same mom as Wild and Crazy Ride.
Wild
Katie.
and Crazy Wide's mom.
When
is
I
my
say
mom.
my mom as a different mom who's not a mom, who's just my mom.
Yeah. Yeah.
We should just keep a little cheat sheet on screen.
Yeah, we should have like the Casey Zoe family dynamic.
Oh, you made the whiteboard black like I like.
Yeah, I made them all black for you,
I
Casey.
mean, it's so cool.
Yeah,
Zoe.
because you asked.
Such a cool sister.
Okay,
I like
so-
I like the white on black. I think it looks dynamic.
So I don't know if any of you know what the trolley problem is, but this is a great way to get started.
You've probably seen it in a meme.
I'm sure you have.
Very likely.
Yes. So the trolley problem is probably the most popular ethical or moral dilemma, rather.
Mm-hmm.
Make it to a fright board.
Quick, draw a spooky bat.
And this, I want to do this before we talk about anything so that we can kind of get an idea of where our ethical or moral principles stand. Like, what would we do in these situations, okay?
sure.
So there's a couple variations of the trolley problem, which I'll go over. But first, we have the initial trolley problem. So let's do this. Beep, beep. Beep, beep. Okay.
Beep, beep, beep.
So you're riding in this little train, right? Choo-choo.
As one does.
Choo-choo. Oh, no. Train.
Yeah, Ragnats.
There's you,
I love
okay?
the good place.
That's the good place is why I studied ethics. No lie. This is you, okay? So you are in the train and the conductor is incapacitated and the brakes are broken. So this is the situation. You're in a train, you're hurling down the train tracks and you come up to a fork.
I think you
There's-
should be even more specific. Like the driver, like how are they incapacitated? No, I just.
Are you gonna be that student? I literally just started.
I'm just saying.
The driver, the conductor.
No, you're saying be
okay.
a clown. I'm saying throw some.
Okay.
I'm saying throw some pepper
Okay.
on it.
Okay.
Okay. The driver, his hands are glued to his ass, and his feet are glued to his mouth.
Okay,
He
sure.
can't do anything.
He's completely folded into a pretzel.
He's
There's no
folded-
possible way
he's folded
that
into a
he could do
pretzel.
anything. It has to be you. And also,
Yeah.
there's no one else in the train. They've all spontaneously combusted.
Yes.
Okay, is
now
this better?
I like this.
Is this
Now I
funner?
like this.
Okay, so you are the only person in the train. You see a big switch in front of you, okay? Now, if you don't pull the switch, if you do nothing, one person is tied to the track on the side where you do nothing. Or sorry, no. 5 people are tied to the track on the side where you do nothing.
Don't mind me throwing cheese.
Yeah.
For Pip.
5. Okay. So there are 5 people who are tied to the track, and this is if you do not pull the lever.
Yeah, the cart is on track to hit these 5 people if you do nothing.
Yes, and Ragnats will get there.
And Dale.
If you do pull the lever, if you specifically pull the lever and change it, on the other track, there is 1 person.
Look at that person.
Yeah, that's a big guy. Do you pull the lever and kill 1 person, or not pull the lever and let 5 people die? That's the question. What is more ethically defensible?
Yeah. I struggle with this one so much.
It's the hardest problem, and there's no right answer.
I mean,
so feel free to weigh in.
If it were real life, I would be like Captain Kirk, and I'd be like, "Fuck a no-win scenario," and I'd like jump out of the cart and grab a steel girder with my bare hands and lift it with my muscles and stick it into the cart wheels and make the cart derail. And then I'd be like, "Oh no, but what about the conductor?" And I'd leap through the air and smash through the window of the cart and grab the conductor and smash out the other side of the window and tumble and roll in the street and go, "You're safe now." But that's in real, obviously that's not the point of this, is that you're supposed to accept the premise.
So there are a couple things to think about. So we've got a couple answers. Ragnat says the Star Trek answer is to pull the lever, needs of the many. So this is the utilitarian answer. We'll get into that.
But is it utilitarian? Because you don't know the future.
Well, the consequence of this action, we'll get into it, but
Yeah.
the consequence
okay.
of this action is fewer people die. You have to
Right.
look at it just like a numbers game in
Right.
this instance.
Yeah.
Because let's say we don't know any of these people. They're all strangers.
Right.
That's how we usually start the problem. They're all
Right. You
strangers.
don't
Then
know
we
them.
can get crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you pull the lever, there's a big thing, is if you pull the lever, you are almost directly responsible for the death of the 1 person.
Sure.
Dale made the point, if you don't pull the lever, it's on God's conscience.
Right.
You didn't do that, you're not responsible. But are you responsible for the other 4 people dying because you didn't pull the lever and save the 5 people? Like, is it better to save more people or to not be responsible? Quote unquote. Where does the responsibility lie?
I think
What would you do? Like, really, as Casey. And I'm not saying, like, fight or flight. Ignore fight or flight. Let's say you actually had the ability to make a decision. It's a toughie. Hi, Mom. We're doing the trolley
it
problem.
is a
Weigh
toughie.
in.
I think I would pull the lever
You'd pull the lever.
to kill less people.
Yeah.
I think I would. I think it's probably the most defensible, but there's no way to really know unless you can see into the future, because that 1 person might have been the person who was going to cure cancer. And the other 5 people were just going to fart around and touch their buttholes their whole life.
Okay.
You know? And so, like, in terms of saving lives on a long enough timeline, there's no way to know.
Of course. Okay, I'm going to change the problem a little bit.
Cool.
Kill 5 people or kill your mom?
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Kill 5 people or kill your mom? You can't step on the brake, Dad. The brakes are broken. Pay attention.
Where's Dad?
Mom's here, so Dad's with them.
I saw. Okay. What's up, Dad and Elise?
So you'd kill the 5 people to save your mom. Is that ethically defensible?
I don't think it's ethically defensible.
Also, my mom's here, so
but
this is very
I might
funny.
do it. I don't know.
What is the correct choice? Is there a correct choice?
Well, I don't think there is a correct choice.
There isn't. Exactly. And well, I mean, some people would argue that there is.
They're wrong.
We when I was in class, Katie said, "Zoe, my God."
My lord.
When I was in class, there was a girl who raised her hand and she said, "Murder is illegal. Do nothing." It was so good. And she would answer questions. She answered questions like that all the time. She'd be like, you can't do that because it was a Tuesday. And I'm like, what are you saying? She's
Imagine being in an
crazy.
philosophy of ethics class.
Yeah.
And the whole time you're just like, don't you know the law?
Well, that's the thing. And when we got into like justice and law, she was like, it's so for the law. And I'm like, no, we're talking about how the law is not always just.
And she's like, no, but the law.
But it's the law. Okay, so now let's clear the board. There is one more variation of the trolley problem, and it's called the Fat Man.
Oh,
Yeah.
how problematic.
Oh, yes. Fat Man. Okay.
Fat Man begins.
So, a train is coming. Still a train. A trolley, whatever you want to call it.
I'll call it trolley.
Okay? But no one is in the trolley. And the brakes are broken. Can't be stopped. Right? It's headed straight towards 5 people.
And they're going to say, like, there's a fat man on the tracks.
No, well, we'll get there. It's headed straight towards 5 people. Right behind the track is a tall building. On the tall building is a very fat man.
Sure.
And you are also on the tall building.
Cool.
You could, A, push the fat man off the building, killing him, but he's fat enough to stop the train. Or don't push the fat man off the building and let the train kill the 5 people.
This one, I think I definitely would do nothing.
And that changes it when you're literally directly responsible for
Yeah.
the death.
Yeah.
Well, what do you guys think? Would you push the fat man, or would
I mean,
you
and,
do
and,
nothing?
and I assume the premise here is that, like, if you do push the fat man, you'll push him perfectly. You'll like,
Oh, yes, you'll perfectly
push him, and he'll land right on the tracks, and the cart will go. Because in real life, I'd be like, I don't know if I could make it. I feel like I wouldn't be confident enough in my fat man throwing
You'd
abilities.
be like,
Yeah.
sorry. And then
and
he'd
then he'd like miss
almost...
the track, and I'd be like, oh,
Yeah, no.
And then the
You
cart
will-
would hit the 5 people, and I'd be like, oh,
You will perfectly push the fat man onto the
What have I
tracks.
done?
Jay.
Kiara, you're getting called out.
So Dale said, "That's good. That's
Yeah,
good."
Dale, no.
Dale wouldn't
That-
push
that-
him
yeah.
in front of a train, but would push him in front of a nuke.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
I think
that
that
changes
that
it. I
checks
guess.
out. Yeah.
And Mom says, "Don't push the fat man."
You'd have to throw him in front of the nuke. You'd have to catapult him into the
You
sky.
have to launch him out of a cannon.
And there'd be a mushroom
toward the
cloud in the-
nuke. Yeah.
in the sky.
Just a, and it'd just be like, body parts flying everywhere.
I think we just solved the nuclear problem.
I'd say we just have to find a fat man.
Just all countries have to arm themselves with a fat man launcher.
Yeah, maybe the nuke is train powered. Good point, Dale.
Yeah, a fat man missile defense system.
Yeah, so this one, what the difference between the other one and this one is that you actually have direct responsibility here. So you are actually killing this man purposefully,
Yes.
as opposed to pulling a lever and by proxy killing someone. So it sort of changes a lot of people's answers.
Also, I'm always like, what are you doing on the tracks, idiot? Maybe you deserve to die.
They were tied there by the villain in Dudley Do-Right.
Oh, fuck. Snidely Whiplash?
Snidely Whiplash. They
This-
were
can
tied
you
there by
believe this shit?
Snidely Whiplash.
Do you believe she didn't know Snidely Whiplash's name?
Do any of them know Snidely Whiplash?
One of the greatest villain names in history, in the history of cartoons.
I don't.
Snidely Whiplash.
I know
How do
who
you
Snidely
forget?
Whiplash
That's
is.
the best name.
Give me a break.
Jeez Louise.
So, do you all have sort of a general idea? Do you all have a general idea? Fat Man Arkham Asylum, nice.
Well, I guess I'm the only guy who knows Snidely Whiplash.
No, wait. Mom, Dad, and Katie know Snidely Whiplash. We used to
Yeah.
watch Dudley Do-Right in the TV in the van all the
Nice,
time.
Nice.
Yeah, see? Mom knows.
Snidely.
The Fat Man is not your mom, Ragnats. No,
No, the next one.
Fat Man is a stranger.
In the next one, the fat man is your mom.
Okay, you have to push your fat mom down this road.
Yeah.
Okay, so you guys have an idea of what you go through in moral dilemmas. Now, this is obviously an absurd situation, but when you think of things like this, it gets you in the thought process of like, what would I do? Where do my values stand? Would I let 5 people die to save someone I love? Do I care about strangers? There was a meme. Actually, I'm gonna look it up.
And it's really important because I think a lot of people, especially Americans, like never examine their values, never question their values.
So this is the correct solution to the trolley problem.
Uh-oh, Nick.
There is a correct solution, and it's this one. Okay, guys?
Okay.
So you guys didn't know, but there actually is a correct solution.
Can't wait.
Nicholas, this train is going to crash into these 5 people. Should we move the train to go this way, or should we let it go that way? Which way should the train go?
This way. Oh.
He's right that's the most fun.
That's the correct answer to the problem. So good try, everyone. You all fucked it up.
We got to get that kid in here to teach a class.
Yeah, honestly. Okay, so this is ethics. And have fun washing dishes.
Yeah, have a good dishwash.
Oh,
I love washing
Ragnat's
dishes.
had ads. He missed the video. I'll play it again. Don't worry.
Oh yeah. Okay,
Don't
one more.
worry, don't
Encore.
worry. We'll play it again.
Encore for Ragnat.
This is worth it for the ad people. Little kid trolley problem. The correct answer to the trolley
Uh-oh,
problem.
Nicholas. This train is going to crash into these 5 people. Should we move the train to go this way, or should we let it go that way? Which way should the train go?
It's funny.
It is still funny. This way. And then he's like, "Fuck you!" I love he just goes
He
like,
speeds it
like
up.
a little slow.
Oh.
Oh. So that's the correct answer to the trolley problem, everyone. Okay.
Now definitely everyone knows the correct answer.
Now you guys are equipped. So what are ethics? Ethics are essentially rules and principles by which to live. There are several branches of philosophy. Metaphysics is sort of like what is real, what is reality. Aesthetics, what is beautiful. Or ethics, how a person ought to be. So how are you supposed to act? How am I supposed to interact with other people? How am I supposed to treat myself? What rules and guidelines as a human being am I expected to or should live my life by? There are different types of ethics. So you have normative ethics. Now, normative ethics are theoretical ethics. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. Basically, like the theories of ethics, different ethical principles by which you can live or can think about living. There's also applied ethics. Now, applied ethics is things like bioethics, business ethics, ethical rules and codes that exist in reality. So whatever that may be, like laws would be a form of applied ethics. There's descriptive ethics.
Or like dad gets the big piece of chicken.
Yeah.
Applied ethics.
Yes, applied ethics.
got
Or
it.
happy wife, happy life, applied ethics. There's just
Careful with that mouth. Careful with that filth mouth.
there's descriptive ethics. Descriptive ethics is like, what should you have done? So the trolley problem is great for that.
Well, wouldn't that be prescriptive ethics?
Prescriptive ethics. I
Yeah.
have it written down and I write my P's like these. Prescriptive ethics is what should you have done.
Yes.
And then there's like meta ethics, which is just like the study of ethics. Ethics looking at ethics. Is ethics ethical? Hence meta ethics.
Meta ethics, yeah,
So the study of
absolutely.
ethics is meta ethics.
Is it okay that we're even doing this?
I don't know.
Are we making things worse?
Dale?
And I think Ragnats, we did see that, right? That was the earlier in the chat.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
the embryos in the burning hospital. Yeah.
You and Dale both had good alternatives.
Yeah. And ethics versus morals. A lot of people have this question. You actually asked me this, like in conversation a couple
Yeah,
days ago.
yeah.
So ethics.
Well, I always think of it because it's the opening scene of Election. You remember this?
Is it?
The like the opening of Election. I think it's the opening. Is Matthew Broderick is a. I mean, what would you teach in high school that you'd be teaching morals and ethics? I forget what his title is.
Maybe like social studies.
Yeah, maybe like social studies teacher, and the opening is him like questioning the kids about like, no, there's morals and there's ethics, and what's the difference?
Oh, gotcha. Did he actually explain?
He kind of does, but it doesn't. I always thought like I was like it's like it always kind of seemed like a joke to me of like
Yeah.
there's not really a difference.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what you're saying.
Yeah. An ethic is killing people. So Katie, that is actually a rule under a certain code of ethics. So I will get into that, but yes, that does fall under ethics for sure. And the difference between ethics and morals, they're often used interchangeably, and if you do use them interchangeably, no one's gonna police you on that. But ethics are a set of rules and principles set up as guidance, and morals are more about your own values.
Right.
So you can do something that's ethical but you feel is immoral, and you can do something moral that you think is moral but can be unethical. So say like a chaotic good in Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
That's someone with a high sense of morality and a low sense of ethics. Does that make sense?
Sure.
No, a rule breaker, like a Robin Hood. High sense of morality, low sense of ethics.
Okay, that totally makes sense.
Does that make sense?
That's me.
Yeah.
I'm totally...
Now, ethics doesn't necessarily have to mean rules. Like, they're not always rigid. There are ethical principles that do have to do with one's own self. But generally, the difference between ethics and morals is ethics is how you be in the world, and morals is your own personal values and how you use those in the world.
Yeah, ethics are like this sort of like the social parameters, and then the morals are like how you operate within or outside of them, like how you operate as an individual.
Morals are personal.
Yeah.
Generally. So this is, once again, if you use them interchangeably, no one's gonna kill you.
Like it's not illegal for me to go walk up to someone at the bar and like stand next to them and then like rip 3 farts in a row.
Yeah.
Not illegal.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't consider it moral.
But if by doing that you made me feel the most joy I've ever felt, that could be moral.
Well, right. If the person at the bar happens to be a fart kinkster, then you might be making their night. And see, that's why it's context.
And it also could be ethical depending on which principle you live by. So really, like, it's not black and white.
Okay.
They're so nuanced, both terms, that
Yeah.
you can use them interchangeably.
Got it.
But there is a slight difference. Morals are personal, ethics are generally for society. And that's the difference.
That's it. Oh, like for example, like you might like it might be the best thing for society for like alcohol to be legal, but you might be like, but I'm not going to drink because of like
I'm an
for my
alcoholic.
health or
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, that's an example.
But because and for me like I don't drink a lot, and I would never say, but I do like to drink.
But
But
you can't drink.
yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And Katie, to answer your question, that's a chart of character distinctions for Dungeons and Dragons. So like the lawful good, neutral good, lawful evil, that's Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah, it's a way to define your character morally.
So we have 3 ethical principles in theoretical ethics. They're all pretty old. I believe John Stuart Mill was the newest. But the 3 ethical principles that most people say are like the basis for all ethics. You have virtue ethics, consequentialism, and deontology. So consequentialism is actually like a big thing, and utilitarianism is a branch of it.
Okay, I was just about to
Yeah,
ask.
so utilitarianism is like a subset of consequentialism.
Okay.
But virtue ethics is the most ancient of the 3. So virtue ethics was written in the book Nicomachean Ethics by Aristotle. Nicomachean Ethics was actually a series of like lecture notes that was compounded, I believe, by his son. So it's a little all over the place. It's kind of a difficult read. But super brilliant, talks about ethics and justice and friendship, a bunch of stuff. So I would definitely highly recommend, like, if you want to learn more about virtue ethics or ethics in general, read Nicomachean Ethics by Aristotle. It's one of his most famous works.
Yeah.
So virtue ethics has to do with character. R-A-C-T.
Like Sonic?
E-R.
Like Sonic the Hedgehog?
No, actually. No, like I knew Katie would like that. No, not like Sonic the Hedgehog. Actually, like your character.
Oh.
Yeah,
so
your
like,
value system.
So like Sonic's value system.
Right, okay, like Sonic's value system.
Okay.
Sure.
So like having to go fast.
Yeah.
It would be an example of character?
No,
No?
not really.
What about needing rings to live?
I don't think that's the one.
Well, fuck me, I guess.
Yeah, so you shut up.
Dale and I are of one mind.
So Aristotle basically says there's something called a mean in between vices and virtues. So say the vice is being obsessed with myself, being very egotistical. And on the other end of the spectrum, the vice is hating myself. Self-deprecation, right? So you have that, and then you have to find the virtue in the mean, which is a healthy ego. Do you understand? So like having self-love, but not being obsessed with yourself.
Right.
And in order to find the mean between your virtues and your vices, or rather two vices on either ends of the spectrum, and
Right,
finding
yeah, I was
the
going to
virtue
say,
in the middle.
kind of a circle almost.
Yeah. So finding the virtue in the middle of your vices is, hold on, I'm going to write down mean. Mean meaning like the math term mean. You know, mean
Yeah,
medium,
for anyone who
mode.
doesn't know, yeah.
Mean means middle.
Middle, yeah.
So finding the mean. So the middle of whatever your vices are. So what, like it could be I'm very violent, or I'm so pacifistic I let people walk all over me.
Right.
Find the mean. And Aristotle.
Like when we talked about like the like healthy confidence.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like you want to be
Exactly.
confident, you want to believe in yourself, but you don't want to fall into arrogance.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's difficult to do.
Oh, very
And
difficult.
Aristotle believes that ethics can be taught.
And Katie's right. That is
good.
actually Sonic's value system.
And Aristotle believes that ethics can be taught, or an ethics system can be taught. You can be taught to be a good person. It's just, he likens it to playing the flute. So, like, if you practice playing the flute, you'll get better and better at playing the flute, or any instrument, really.
Of course.
Or if you learn how to ride a bike. It's not exactly like learning how to ride a bike, because it's a consistent practice of being the most balanced version of yourself. But I'm gonna draw a little flute because I have the freaking whiteboard. There's the mouthpiece.
That looks like a pipe. Oh, no, it doesn't.
No, it's a flute.
It looked like a cool pipe.
Don't get it twisted. It's
like
a flute.
cool pipe.
And then he plays music.
Yeah, look at that flute.
Okay.
Nice.
So he likens it to playing a flute. And in order to live an ethical or virtuous life, you have to be consistently practicing. You have to be consistently finding the mean between your vices. You have to be very self-aware.
And
You
keep
have to
asking
know-
questions.
But that's why people have a lot of problems with virtue ethics, because it is so self-centric. It's very much about, like, how can I be the best me? And doesn't really have much to do with everyone else or the consequences of actions. It's very much just like, how can I be a great person? And now you being a great person has good consequences.
Right.
But because it's such a self-centered ethical principle, it's not totally accepted as, like, the best version.
Right.
Okay, so that's virtue ethics, Aristotle. Consequentialism. So there are three ways that
Well,
you can...
and that, sorry, I was going to say, that feels very applicable to today's, like, a lot of political discourse. You know, I kind of brain farted on it. But yeah, it made me think of a lot of those arguments.
About becoming... I'm curious as to how.
Yeah. Give me the little... Say it again. So
finding the mean between the two vices.
Right. Oh yeah, the self-centered. That, like, I think the question politically of, like, is it enough to just be a good person in your own life, or is there a responsibility to also help? Because I think there's a lot of people who are, like, totally politically apathetic on the justification of, like, well, I'm good in my life. You know, like, I don't want to get involved in anything. I won't vote or do direct action. But like, I like keep my word, and I'm nice to my family, and I'm nice to my neighbors, so that's it. Right? But like, then I think that these are a lot of the ethical questions we're looking at as a species right now.
Right. Well, yeah, and I think another reason why it doesn't always work is because we are such a social species. If we spend too much time, you know, those people that are always working on themselves.
Yeah,
they're
too
so
much.
fucking annoying. They're like, oh, I'm looking within. I'm sitting with the discomfort. I'm finding my own personal truth.
And they never just
I'm
exist.
like, shut up. so those are people who strive to be very virtuous, and they're fucking annoying.
It's good to question yourself, and also you can get lost in a bottomless pit of navel gazing.
Yeah.
Existential navel
Oh,
gazing.
for sure.
And never actually live your life.
Yeah.
Because you're always reflecting and considering.
It's a big downfall of trying to follow virtue ethics by the book. Because it really is, it's like trying to achieve nirvana.
Right.
It's almost impossible to completely find the mean in everything.
And generally,
We're humans.
yeah, and generally the way you're going to find your way to it is when you stop trying to find your way to it.
Yes, and then when you stop trying, you're not following the rules anymore.
Right.
So, you know, that's virtue ethics. It's
Well, and
probably,
that's why it'll never get you to nirvana.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's probably my favorite of the three because it's the least rigid and it is the most self-centered. But it is probably the least applicable in how we interact with each other now, like with the internet and all of that stuff. Like with how connected we are now, virtue ethics is not necessarily the best option. Consequentialism.
Well, and Katie's saying this is like the Tool talks about this in their music.
Yeah.
That's another reminder for me. I gotta listen to Tool.
You do. Everyone's favorite band is Tool.
Yeah.
Consequentialism is consequences. Looking at the consequences before you look at the action itself. So there are three forms of consequentialism. There's me consequentialism, there's you consequentialism, and there's everyone consequentialism. Everyone. So me consequentialism is, how is this going to affect me? This actually is a completely different set of ethics called egoism, and we will talk about that a little bit later. How everything affects everyone else without me in mind is a doormat, and how my actions affect everyone is utilitarianism. So utilitarianism is the everyone version of consequentialism.
Totally makes sense.
Got it? I love when Casey says I feel like a genius. So utilitarianism.
Well, I feel like I am very utilitarianist.
Yeah,
in
yeah,
a
yeah.
lot of ways.
Utilitarianism kind of treats life like a numbers game. So a utilitarian would always pull the lever.
Right.
In the trolley problem. Even if well, it depends. So say like 5 criminals and 1 doctor. In that case, the utilitarian might pull or might not pull the lever, because the doctor would save more lives and the criminals would take more lives.
Presuming that the criminals are criminals for actually doing bad things.
Well, like murderers.
Yeah.
Not like
serial killers.
Not like petty thieves.
Not like jaywalkers.
Yeah, not that kind of criminal. Like real like serial killers.
You jaywalked? Well, this guy
5 serial
does
killers
surgery.
and a doctor.
You're
The
out.
utilitarian guy might pull or might not pull the lever and let the 5 people die. But generally, life is a numbers game. So everything that I do, it's about pleasure and pain. I'm going to actually type this because that's just easier.
Yeah, you can type in this motherfucker. You just gotta make it bigger.
I will.
How do you make it bigger? Oh my god, this thing rules.
So, consequentialism or utilitarianism focuses on pleasure.
Draw a little
and
arrow
pain.
from everyone to utilitarianism.
Okay. Okay, doctor. Yeah. Do you feel happy now?
Yes! Okay, yes.
Okay.
I feel super happy.
What you're trying to do is create the maximum amount of pleasure and the least amount of pain, or remove the most pain. Is what you're doing in almost everything that you do. So in The Good Place, the system in place, if you've seen The Good Place, is pretty utilitarian. The numbers, like, you get points for doing good things, or you lose points for doing bad things.
That's a big moth.
that is a big bug, and I want to die.
It's just a moth that can't hurt you, Zoe, and I know it still freaks you out. Sorry, everybody. Big moth just flew by. Very big. How did it even get in? No windows are open. That was a giant moth.
I might die.
You're fine.
Okay, anyways. I think he flew over there, so I feel okay.
Yeah. I'll keep an eye out. I'm on moth watch.
So a lot of people say, ah,
No, it's okay.
you can't flinch and then make me
Sorry.
feel better.
I'm sorry. I thought my toe touched something. Okay.
Okay, so if this bitch flies in my mouth on
You're
camera,
fine.
you're about to see me have a heart attack. Okay, you can have my eggs.
Yeah, moth, don't you want some eggs?
A lot of people say that utilitarian... A lot of people say that... God damn it, Dale. A lot of people say that utilitarianism is kind of rigid and shitty because it's not really, you don't really care about like humanity. It's not like it's not about people. It just makes everything into a bit of a numbers game if you really play it by the book. Now, while perhaps everything could be a net positive, the actions that you have to take to create that net positive could be not really morally defensible, right? So you might have to murder someone to save people.
Sure.
In a utilitarian society, that would be acceptable. But how, as a person, would you feel about murdering someone, right? So it really depends on like how you view the world. If you really think that like the world would be a much better place if there was as much pleasure as possible and as little pain as possible, then utilitarianism probably would work for you. But if you are an introspective person and you do actually want to have a sense of character, utilitarianism is incredibly rigid and difficult to accomplish while still feeling like a good person. So that's consequentialism. So basically just think the ends justify the means, essentially. It's a little more nuanced than that, but it is the idea of the ends justify the means. Then you have deontology. Deontology is Immanuel Kant's ethical principle in which we have a duty. Or, hold on, let me...
There's the duty.
Duty. We have
And
a
yet Dale
duty.
pointed out that Thanos was utilitarian.
Yes, Thanos was utilitarian.
Thanos!
I said Thanos.
I think you said Thano.
I said Thanos.
I said
Why would I
Thanos.
ever say
I
Thanos?
don't know, it sounded like you said Thano. We'll have to check the tape. I don't know with you. You
Check
don't,
the tape.
you don't know Snidely Whiplash.
I do know Slidey Whiplash.
You think Thanos is Thano?
I never said Thanos.
You think Darth Vader is...
Pull in the chat. Did I say fucking Thanos?
You think Darth Vader is Arth Vady?
Now you're just gaslighting. I love to use the word gaslighting very irresponsibly because I also hate when people use the word gaslighting irresponsibly.
You think the Shredder is Shredder the? I can't put up with it anymore.
God damn it.
You want to fuck that up?
Okay, so Immanuel Kant believes that we have duties. There is a set book of rules and principles by which everyone should live. So this, I think, is the most rigid of the three. So Kant says, never lie.
Right.
never murder, never, break a promise. These are like 3 big ones. So like, even if like we were given a situation where you're hiding someone in your house that someone is on their way to murder.
Yeah,
And the murderer comes up to the door and says, "Hi, Fox." And no, that's not what the murderer says. Sorry. So the murderer comes up to the door and says, "I'm looking for this guy. I'm going to go murder him." The guy at the door who's protecting you cannot lie.
Right.
And has to say, "Yep, he's in here. Have fun."
Yeah. I'm like a very radical honesty kind of guy philosophically, but the thing that I always reference of like when you should lie is when Anne Frank is hiding in your attic.
Yes. Kant does not believe you should lie when Anne
Yeah,
Frank
so
is
that's
hiding
where
there.
that's where I would disagree with Kant.
Now, there is a principle called the categorical imperative.
Good phrase. Good term.
So the categorical imperative is part of Kant's ethics. So the categorical imperative means that if any situation that you're in, a small situation between you and I, if that situation were to be expanded as a universal rule, would the rule make sense? So say, I want to steal someone's bike. I'll allow it. I want to steal someone's bike. If I steal someone's bike and I think of the categorical imperative, we would live in a world where bike stealing was fine.
Right.
And if I had a bike and I didn't want anyone stealing it, I wouldn't like that rule. So I don't commit that action. Does that make sense? So so think of any ethical situation in which it's between you and another person,
Okay.
or a group of people, whatever.
Sure.
You have to first take a moment before you make an action and think, if the whole world had to follow the rule of what I'm about to do right now, would I be okay with that rule?
Right.
Does that make sense?
So it's a little like golden rule-y, like.
It's yeah. It's totally golden rule. Golden
yeah.
rule is very deontological.
Okay. If you wouldn't want it to happen to you, don't do it to somebody else.
Yes, exactly. And it is a little bit more nuanced than that. Like, there is like a formula where there are different ways that like it doesn't really apply to the categorical imperative, but I'm not going to get that deep into it today because this is just the 101. Right. But yes, the categorical imperative is essentially the golden rule. Yeah. Yes, if I don't want it done to me, if I don't want to live in a world where it's acceptable that I do this thing right now, I won't do this thing.
Yeah.
So that's deontology, Immanuel Kant. And Immanuel Kant believes that we all have a duty as humans to act a certain way. The big part of that human duty is that we cannot treat people as objects. That means you can't use people as a means to an end or for any purpose. That is treating a human as an object. You cannot own people. You cannot you cannot treat humans as objects. Now, I will say Kant lived in a time where they didn't think women or black people were people. So you can treat those people as objects in Kant's mind. I don't believe that.
Kant, you goof.
Yeah, Kant and Aristotle both didn't think that women had brains. So you know, it's a whole fucking thing.
Important context.
Yes. So yes. And that's about it. So to summarize one more time, virtue ethics is character. So how am I going to exist in the world, constantly trying to find the mean between vices? I don't want to be violent. I don't want to be a doormat. I find something in the middle. It's completely self-centered. It's all about being a good person. Consequentialism or utilitarianism is a numbers game. How can I make the most pleasure and take away the most pain? And how can I keep as many people alive as possible? A lot of hospital ethics is consequentialism. So like triage systems. We help the people who are more likely to survive, et cetera, et cetera. That is definitely consequentialist.
Interesting.
Deontological ethics are a duty, a rigid set of rules that you must follow in order to achieve being a good human. Make sense?
Yeah.
So most of our ethical situations that we deal with as people are some sort of combination of the three.
Right.
So before we move on to smaller things.
Well, because something I like about deontology is it's like, I feel like it speaks to honoring, like, maybe I'm wrong, but like honoring ethics over the, or honoring your morals over the ethics, you know?
Well, deontology is completely, I said but I actually disagree.
That's what I'm asking to be corrected.
Deontology is all ethical, so personal morals don't really play a role. If you do not, it doesn't matter
Okay.
how you feel or what you think. If you don't follow these rules, you're a bad person.
Right.
And you know.
But what if the system, the ethics, using the definition of ethics as like the more social system rules, violates the rules of on which your deontology is built? You know what I mean? Like if a law is passed that violates what you consider the righteous rules that define your deontology.
Right. So if a law is passed that like you can lie if someone's gonna get murdered.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a good question.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I feel like the deontological thing would, in that context, would be to say, fuck the new law. What's right is right. Because like I tend to think of like Captain America as like a fairly deontological character.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. So Fox,
Modern Captain America.
you're not too late. We did the trolley problem and we went over the 3 versions of ethics. I did a little recap of the 3.
I mean, you missed some great stuff. You should check it out. Zoe's awesome. She's a great professor. And we're still cooking, and you're here at the perfect time.
And Fox, I will give you a chance to do the trolley problem because we're going to go over it one more time from the perspective of the ethics. So I think this will actually give you a better idea of what we've been talking about. So you didn't miss too much. A lot of Casey and I talking shit.
And yeah, before you go into that, I
Yeah.
was curious, Karagnat's this question of the final episode of Seinfeld. Yeah, do you ever see the finale of Seinfeld?
No.
So yeah, so basically they're on a trip, the Seinfeld crew, and they see a guy getting mugged, and they don't do anything. They just like go like, "Oh, look at that," ha ha ha, because they're assholes, and then they get arrested because it turns out they're in an area that has a Good Samaritan law that you can't ignore a bad thing happening. And so they get put on trial, and then like all the characters, like all the fan favorite characters from throughout the series are witnesses.
Oh, shit.
Explaining how they're fucking assholes and they deserve to go to jail, and then they're sent to jail. And the end of Seinfeld is they're all locked up in a jail cell.
Oh, shit.
Spoil. I mean, it's a what? It's
So
a
they broke the Good Samaritan law by not
25-year-old
doing
show.
anything.
Not to spoil a 25-year-old show, but I think this is a good question. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a great question.
Like, what would
do
that-
you think what they did was ethically indefensible?
Yeah, or like that Good Samaritan law. With what like, where would you place that?
Well, it depends. Are you putting yourself in danger? Because a consequentialist might not want to do that.
Yeah, I mean, you could certainly say that they may have been putting themselves in danger by trying to stop a mugging.
Would you say that is a good amount of bravery, or that's being rash?
Right.
Virtue ethicists might
Brave or
say you're
reckless?
being rash, reckless.
Yeah.
So it really depends. But it is a great question. And just to reiterate
It's
the
a good-
trolley...
yeah.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say it's a good situation to test these lenses.
Yes, a deontologist would say you fucked up.
Right. Right. The
yeah.
deontologist would say, yeah, you should always help people when they need help. Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so just to reiterate for Fox and everyone else, if you're just joining, the trolley problem. So,
Yeah.
you are in a trolley. The conductor
Has
is
his hands glued to his ass and his feet glued to his mouth.
incapacitated. Okay? He can't do anything. He is, on the verge of death, essentially.
Yeah.
Everyone else in the train has spontaneously combusted. You are the only person there. The brakes are broken. The train is hurling down the tracks very, very quickly. There's no way for you to stop the train. There's no way for you to stop the train. You come up to a fork in the road right here. So you have 2 choices. Either you do nothing, you do not pull the lever, you don't do anything, and the train runs over 5 people tied to the track. And there's no way to get the people off the track, okay? The train runs over 5 people. Or you pull the lever and the train kills 1 person. Do you pull the lever Kill one person to save 5 people, or do nothing and let 5 people die. That's the trolley problem. Got it? Either way, I will have a person's blood on my hands either way, which makes me a bad person. The right thing to do would be to not touch it. So by definition, I have not committed murder or anything, but also morally I want to lead it towards the one.
Yeah.
Yes, so this is exactly, So this is exactly the issue with the trolley problem. And then there are variations where it's like, okay, but the one person is your mom.
Right.
You know, or the 5 people are serial killers and the one person is a doctor.
Right. Or the one person is Fabio. Would you dare?
Would you dare kill Fabio?
Would you dare?
So let's
And
talk
the other
about...
5 are not Fabio.
Yes.
In this scenario, to be clear, the other 5, not Fabio. Suffice to say.
So, the big ethical dilemma, Fox, you pointed to it, is do you want to be directly responsible or do you want to cause more damage but not be responsible? Mm-hmm. So
I do kind of think that probably the most morally defensible thing would be to do nothing.
Yeah?
And just be like, this is fucked and I didn't set this up and I'm not going to decide who lives and dies.
Yes. Yeah. It's in God's hands. He must be sure to show. And what was I gonna say? So let's talk about what each ethicist would do. A virtue ethicist is focused on a good character. Okay, so wanting to be the best version of themselves, constantly finding the mean between their vices. So one could argue pulling the lever is rash. One could argue that
it's rad.
One could argue that not pulling the lever shows weakness, and you don't want to be weak. Don't fucking write.
Why have I been wearing headphones?
Yeah, this whole time, like a dummy. Can you
I'm just
grab me?
getting tea.
Can you grab me a seltz?
Yes. They're not cold yet, the new ones.
I don't care. I don't need a cold seltz.
You say so.
So a virtue ethicist would actually have a really hard time with this problem. And I think a lot of us, when we discuss the trolley problem, are looking at virtue ethics. Are saying, like, how could I have the greatest character when I make this decision? Now, how would... I'll wait till Casey gets back, because I want to hear his silly answers. He's almost here. He's pouring tea. Also, hi, anyone just joining? Come hang out. We're learning about ethics. It's getting fun.
Ask questions. Make comments.
Ask questions. Call me stupid.
Call us stupid idiots. It's our kink. Call us dummy dumbs.
Disgusting. I didn't like that voice.
Tell us you're going to send us to the dummy barn.
I hated that.
Tell us.
So, Casey, how would a utilitarian do this trolley problem if you didn't know anyone on the tracks?
Utilitarian would pull the lever and kill the one person rather than the 5 because the utilitarian, it's all a numbers game. Yeah.
So you, good. Welcome back, Mom. We're redoing the trolley problem with the knowledge of the 3 ethical principles. So utilitarian, if you didn't know anyone on the tracks, would pull the lever because killing one person is better than letting 5 people die. Because in the end, the consequence of that action is fewer deaths. One could argue that the amount of pain that you feel after doing so might be bad. If it's a quick death for the 5 people, but you know, your pain and pulling the lever is horrible.
Yeah, like how sharp are the wheels on this trolley?
It'll just go shoop, shoop.
We haven't asked this at all.
But
what if they're like chunky, jagged
all 5
wheels?
of these people could have families. So in the world, that may still cause more pain to kill.
And the one guy
people.
might just be a loser.
And the one guy might just be a dumb loser. You don't know any of these people.
Yeah.
Now, if the 5 people were serial killers, like we said before, if the 5 people are serial killers and the one guy is a doctor, you might want to kill the serial killers because consequentially, you will be saving more lives by killing the 5 people. So utilitarian would look over the numbers. A deontologist Do not murder.
Yeah.
Probably wouldn't pull the lever.
Yeah.
Cannot be responsible for murder.
Right.
Would probably have an existential crisis because there's a lose-lose situation at hand. Wouldn't be fun for the deontologist in this situation. Would feel like a bad person no matter what he did.
Yeah. Dale's right. They could be 5 hate-filled orphans.
And don't worry, guys, we're going to do some more fun moral dilemmas. So I got a bunch. But the trolley problem is the most famous,
It's very fundamental.
very fundamental, and I'm passionate about it. Okay, so we got virtue ethics,
All right.
consequentialism, and utilitarianism, and deontology. So these are the classical 3 systems of ethics, but they don't really apply to modern day interactions because we are so connected. So as time has progressed, more ethical principles, more methods of finding morality have developed. Okay? Mm-hmm. So there's several. These are just a few. Relativism is the idea that depending on where I am, my ethics system is different.
So contextualism.
It's contextualism, yes.
Yep,
So
definitely into
everything I
that.
do is relative to who I'm with, where I'm at. So my code of ethics is constantly changing. Mm-hmm. Okay? That is relativism. Always changing. I want to make it look nice. Heart.
And yeah, Ragnats, I think the deontologist would say that by not pulling it, they're not killing anyone. Mm-hmm. That fate kills the one person. Mm-hmm. And that the only way for them to not be responsible for any killing is to do nothing.
I think Rags might be on an ad, because I am.
I got it.
Oh, Twitch Pride. Ew. I love Pride. I'm gay. I just don't like...
Not corporate
I don't
pride.
like corporate Pride.
Yeah, yeah.
I just want to be very clear to our viewers. I am a homo. Okay. I just don't like capitalizing on rainbows.
Yes.
There is also... Oh, Johnny Depp won? Did this just happen? Oh, we have to look this up.
So, jeez.
Jury delivers verdict. It says
Oh.
jury finds both of them liable
For defamation.
for defamation. Ah!
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 Okay.
So I learn how to use a mouse someday.
A jury has found both Amber Heard and Johnny Depp liable for defamation and lawsuits against each other. Depp sued Heard, his ex-wife, for defamation.
So it was a tie? Boring.
The jury awarded...
I want a winner.
The jury awarded Depp $10 million in compensatory damages and $5 million in punitive damages. The jury awarded Heard $2 million in compensatory damages and no money for punitive damage.
Okay,
so
so-
he made 12
Yeah.
or 13 million.
Yeah.
Essentially.
So he won.
He won.
All right, well.
Well, oh, Johnny
It was a hell of a fight.
Okay, but here's the thing. Johnny sought 50 million and Heard sought 100 million. And Johnny got 13 and Heard got 2.
2.
But isn't she paying him 15? So she actually lost, or 13. She
Well,
lost 13.
let
right?
that be a lesson to both of you celebrities. And now you're both going to have to be rich for the rest of your lives.
Anyways, crazy.
That'll learn ya.
Yeah, I mean, that's what he set out to do, essentially, is clear
Yeah.
his name. So, cool.
News.
News! Breaking!
The biggest news.
The biggest news of all time that I care the most about. I've told you guys about my inside scoop, so we know.
Zoe knows people who know Amber Heard, so she has, like, personal feelings.
Yeah. So. Anyway. Divine command. Divine command is, if God says it, it's the right thing. Mm-hmm. Have you ever met anyone who follows divine command?
No, I've only met people who claim to, but then do whatever they want when it suits them.
All morality is moral because of God. If God wills it, so it shall be. This is incredibly popular in ancient philosophy, ancient philosophical thought. Divine command is a code of ethics that almost all ancient... Welcome back, Max. Almost all, like, ancient philosophers rules to live by.
Yeah.
Yeah, fuck divine command. Good.
God said I have to doodle my dingle. There's nothing you can do about it.
Social contract is probably the closest thing we have to what modern day ethical systems are like in this country. So a social contract is essentially within a certain social sphere, we have a general understanding between people of what to do and what not to do. And let me, because social contract actually is my least favorite ethical principle next to divine command, so I'm actually going to make sure contract ethics, because I want to make sure I'm explaining it right, because I'm a good teacher. Okay. Okay, is the view that persons' moral and or political obligations are dependent upon a contract or agreement among them to form the society in which they live. Socrates uses something quite like a social contract under argument to explain to Crito why he must remain in prison and accept the death penalty. However, social contract theory is rightly associated with modern moral and political theory and is given its first full exposition and defense by Hobbes. So Thomas Hobbes, read Hobbes if you want to learn about social contract. After Hobbes, John Locke and Jean-Jacques Rousseau are the best known proponents of this enormously influential theory, which has been one of the most dominant theories within moral and political theory throughout the history of the modern West. So yeah, like I said, most applicable to modern day philosophy. In 20th century, history. So yeah, essentially, there is a common agreement within a society of a code of ethics. So it's not already established, it's established by the people who live there. So one could say it's ethical to own slaves, if that's understood under the social contract. So,
Or if God said so.
yeah, or if God said so. If there is if we live in a theology, the social contract may state that it is okay to follow those rules. Now, obviously, means not everything is going to be moral or right or good, but under social contract, that is how a society runs. Egoism, like I mentioned before, is the all about me version of consequentialism. So everything I do is, how's this going to affect me? Have you ever met someone who follows this form of ethics?
Like every right-wing politician and pundit.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Theory of distributive justice. So distributive justice is a pretty self-explanatory title. Remember how we've had debates before and I said that justice doesn't necessarily apply to laws? There is like the ethical principle of justice, which isn't just like the jury said yes, like Johnny Depp got justice. There is actually
School of Paul.
the School of Paul, the divine command. The theory of distributive justice is essentially like an almost communistic, like distributive justice. Distribution is equal. And there's obviously a lot more nuance to the theory of distributive justice. Rawls wrote an entire book on it, but that's just the essential thing, is it is just for all people to live in an equitable society. Existentialism is what I concentrated in when I was in school. I love existentialism. It makes me horny. So existentialism is the ethical principle that humans have no fixed nature. So, if you think... Alright, let's make a new whiteboard.
Now we're talking.
Because I'm going to draw pictures. Now we're talking. Make it black. Make the pen white. Okay. So if you think of a lion, right? You have a lion.
Oh, look at this lion.
Yeah. Grrr.
Wow.
Yeah. And he has his little tail.
I was gonna say you gotta get the tail in there.
Yeah, you got a little tail with the little floof at the end.
Oh, thank God.
And his little arms and his little
Fantastic.
lion legs. Okay. And his face. Okay. Lion. What does a lion do?
It barks. No, wait, fuck. No, yeah. A lion eats meat.
Yeah.
A lion goes poo poo.
Yeah, guys, what do lions do?
A lion.
What's the purpose of a lion?
The purpose of a lion is to make me go, whoa, look at that lion. That lion does have some killer knockers.
So lions,
Mamma mia.
we look at lions and we know that a lion's purpose in life is to hunt, to eat, to nest, like or nest in the sense that they like create a place where their family is safe. We can predict what a lion does, what a lion's nature is. While lions are super dangerous and can be a little unpredictable if we're like running in front of it, will it kill me? The nature of a lion is pretty clear.
Especially if you're wearing your I Hate Lions shirt.
Yeah, then they'll really get you.
Then they just see red.
Okay, what does a dog do? Here's a dog. Ready? Here's a nose.
That's a bird.
Nope, it's a dog.
You're drawing a bird, ma'am.
It's a dog.
Ma'am, I'm afraid you're drawing a bird.
Nope, this is a dog.
Oh, I'm sorry, it's a goat.
Nope, this is a dog.
It's a goat with a
It's
it's a goat with a problem.
It's funny because I'm actually pretty good at drawing, okay, losers?
But drawing with a mouse is harder.
Okay, here's a dog.
The goat's got to get that one leg looked at quick.
Here's a dog. What does a dog do?
Dog goes meow. Fuck! A dog.
What do dogs do?
A dog is man's best friend.
Yeah, well, a dog...
A dog does friend.
Where's Pip? Hi, Pip. He's sleeping. Yeah, dogs do the same. Dogs like to hunt, nest, survive, replicate, right?
Sure.
So you look at lions, you look at dogs. What does a fish do? The Jesus fish. What does a fish do? Same thing. Fish likes to hunt, survive, eat. We are able to label everything that these animals do by nature.
Fish stares at me.
Oh, fish stares at you. Good. Fish stares.
At me.
Man, fuck. So we are able to say what it is that animals do in the world. We can predict their patterns because their nature is apparent. That's why they say, like, oh, you know, it's just animal instinct. You can't break animal instinct. Okay? Now, you can do this for pretty much any animal, and the answers will be the same. Now, what does a person do?
Person has boobs installed on their shoulders.
What does a person do?
A person breathes
Yeah, what is the purpose of a person?
to be around and look at things and sit down and share.
There's not a good answer.
Yeah.
There's not a good answer.
Well, yeah, what's the purpose of a person? What's the purpose of the universe?
Why do people exist? Lions exist to eat and fuck and sleep and make nests. Fish
Yeah.
exists to eat and fuck and sleep and make nests. People, what do we do? Because we have the ability to reason.
Right.
And with the ability to reason, you got a whole slew of issues.
We have big frontal lobes.
Yeah, they're like this. And they got a little nipple.
Big frontal lobes. And
Yeah.
Frontal lobe is like the nipple of the brain.
It's the nipple of the brain.
And we evolved much larger ones, and that allowed us to consider the future.
So because we cannot define the fixed nature of a human because of our developed frontal lobes, because of our ability to reason, you cannot say that humans are bound by anything. You cannot say that there is a meaning of life for people. There might be a meaning of life for dogs. There might be a meaning of life for platypuses, but there might not be one for people. There's no fixed nature. So all meaning that exists in the world is put there by people.
Right. And then you can absorb old meaning from other people.
The only thing stopping me from going to Georgia right now is other people. The money it would cost to get there. You know, I am only bound by my body. I can't grow wings and fly to Georgia.
Right.
But within my body, I'm able to get there. I can do essentially anything. People can do anything. People can be anything. We are only bound by the constraints of our body. Animals do not have that option. Animals can't do or be anything without going against their instinct or inherent nature.
Which they can't do.
Animals can't do that. Humans can. We have no human nature.
Right.
When people say, "Oh, it's just human nature," no, that's yours.
Right.
That's what you do. I know people who don't think that way.
Yeah. And if you took a bunch of newborn babies and put them in a circumstance, a scenario, a system that taught them, like, you have to put your poop on your head every day, you got to wear your poop like a hat, then all of those people when they grew up would all wear their poop like
On
hats.
their hat. So,
And if someone came up and said, "Why are you putting shit on your head?" They'd be like, "Oh, excuse me?" They'd be like, "Ugh, who is this sick man?" And they'd run away from you.
So I love existentialism. It is the most, I think, freeing ethical principle.
Yeah.
I think it is also the most applicable to all people, and it gives us the power to create whatever society we want to live in.
Yeah.
As opposed to a social contract, which is generally dominated by the majority.
Right.
Or whomever has the most power when the social contract is
Established. Yeah.
Existentialism means that we are just beings of consciousness with no purpose and no meaning and no nature, and completely able to do anything that it is that we want or can do.
Yeah. That because we can reason and because we have language,
Language is the big one.
Yeah. We are susceptible to influence in a way that animals never are.
Yes. So that is existentialism. And if you want to read about existentialism, I would suggest Simone de Beauvoir. Oh, I just crossed her name out like a
Take that, Simone.
stupid little idiot. Simone de Beauvoir is a female, which is unheard of in philosophy. All right, if you can find a female philosopher, read it. There's like 6. Because up until recently, they didn't think that women had brains.
Yeah.
So when you find a female philosopher, she's usually really smart.
Yeah.
Because she had to go through a lot of shit to get there. I was one of the only women in the entire philosophy program. We had 1 female professor, like 30 male professors.
Wow.
Philosophy is not for girls in this social contract. So any woman philosopher that you can read, I suggest reading. Simone de Beauvoir is a beautiful writer. Really, really interesting concepts. I would highly recommend anything she's written. She's also a very feminist, interesting woman. So humans have no fixed nature according to existentialists. So when someone says I'm having an existential crisis, I'm
They're grappling with the meaninglessness and the absurdity of things.
Exactly. Which is existentialism.
I had real bad, like when I was working in marketing, I had real bad ones all the time.
Yeah.
I'd have days where I was just like, why are we doing this?
What is the purpose?
Why are we all working in a building to lie to people with pretty pictures and trick people into buying shit that's not even good most of the time?
Yeah.
And then my coworkers would be like, I don't know, man, we're going to lunch. We're just gonna go get a sandwich. And I was like, but why? What is this world?
Yeah. That's an existential crisis. I'm sure we've all had them. So honestly, a lot of us practice existentialism without even realizing it. Whenever we have that moment where we're like, oh wait, this doesn't actually mean anything.
Yeah.
That's existentialism.
Yeah.
So great ethical principle. My favorite, I think the most applicable as human beings in the world today. Yeah.
Well, and speaking of meaninglessness, and I think it's like one of my favorite things philosophically that is focused on at Landmark, this place where Zoe and I took some courses like self-development. And we've talked about before that we have like mixed feelings. But one of the things that I really loved was the idea of like remembering that like the meaninglessness of the universe is also meaningless. That like the only like
There's not a reason it's meaningless.
yeah, that a lot of people go like will have a realization of like, oh, the universe is meaningless. Oh, okay. And it's like, no, you're making the meaninglessness mean something now.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
doing that.
Yeah.
The meaninglessness in reality means nothing because it's meaninglessness. But as humans, we hear meaningless and we think, oh, that means bad.
Yeah.
Because we have silly human brains. But actually, everything is meaningless. And it's meaningless that it's meaningless. I find that's very helpful for me.
Oh, it's empowering.
To not, to
It's
not
empowering.
just be like, ooh, and then realize like, oh, no, it's like cool. Because as I've
Yeah.
often said, if the universe had intrinsic meaning, it would be a spiritual prison. If the universe had intrinsic meaning, I'd be like, wow, you really fucked this one up, God.
Yeah.
Like, because then we'd all just be trapped. There'd be nothing for us to create. We couldn't be creative and bring our own expression and self to the world because it would already be set of like, this is the meaning. This is what you're supposed to do. So I love that the universe is meaningless. And to me, it's proof of God. It's proof of a God who really knew how to design a universe for itself, which we
Yeah.
all are.
A lot of people say like the meaning of human life is love. That's a big one. Everyone's like, to love and be loved is what it is to be a person.
Connection, I think, is a big
and I'm
part
like,
of it. But it's not
ew,
meaning.
Yucky.
It's just something that's cool for people.
This is something that's cool for people. It's oxytocin. Chill out. But I do think that love and gratitude are very essential in like existing as a person in the world. But I do sort of clamp on to the idea of no meaning. Yeah. Yeah, Fox, good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, and people who are really attached to meaning often are, often like very religious people are very attached to meaning. Like,
Yeah.
what does this mean? God has a purpose. Everything happens for a reason.
Yeah, and when we did those courses, like because there was usually like 100 people in a course, and like the religious people would freak out when it got to the part where they're like, the universe is empty and meaningless.
They would be like, "Bah!"
Like
They'd, start crying.
I've looked up like there are YouTube videos of people in their cars after the class, like sitting in their cars, like it was really good until they said that the universe has no meaning, and I know that God's love is, and I won't let them. And it's like, oh my God.
Hi, Curtin Rascal.
Hey, what's up, Karen Rascal?
And friends.
And friends. Thanks for the raid.
Woo! Happy to see you.
You're here just in time for Clown College. Professor Zoe is teaching us about the different schools of ethics.
Yeah, so we just went over a bunch of ethical ethical principles, but we're going to apply some of them now. So if you want to do some fun moral dilemmas with us.
Let's flip back to the board.
Let's get back to the board. Oh, you mean on the thing?
Yes.
Boink. Okay, so we went over some ethical principles. We went over some more minor ethical
And for those who don't know,
principles.
Zoe, studied ethics. She has a degree, philosophy. So she's imparting
Kiara.
imparting her expert knowledge to us.
We're doing ethics, not gonna lie. Okay, so let's do some stuff.
Yeah.
You want to do some situations?
more
If we have
scenarios?
fun with these, we can find even more.
Yeah.
All right.
I love scenarios.
Moral dilemmas,
Moral
my
dilemmas.
friends. Moral dilemmas. Fit. Okay.
Okay.
You're out to dinner, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And you see that your friend's spouse is eating dinner with someone else. Sus. Now, they seem to be banging. You see them leave together, too. Now, you're not sure if this is friendly or not, but your gut tells you this is not friendly. They're on a date. What do you do? Do you tell your friend? What do you tell your friend? What do you do? Kids, what do you do?
Well, I'd be hesitant because like I'd be like, if I'm wrong, and this is just like a friendly dinner, I don't want to create drama or doubt, tension in my friend's relationship that might be totally chill. But I mean, I think probably what I would do is I'd like take a look, like I'd like the next time I hung out with them, I'd like pay close attention. I'd like try to get a sense of like, is there any other vibe here? Like,
So let's say
Yeah.
the person you see your friend's spouse eating with is a complete stranger. You don't know them. You're never gonna say like you don't like you totally
no,
by
no, no,
chance.
no. But when I hang out with my friend
and
their
their
spouse,
spouse, see if it's
like
a
I would, I don't
movie.
think I would I wouldn't like walk out of the restaurant and call them and be like, guess what I just saw? You know, I'd be like, that was weird. And then like the next time I saw them, I'd like kind of be like, how's their vibe? Is there anything else sus here? And based on like my intuition from that interaction, I might go to my friend and be like, hey, I saw this. I don't know. You know, I don't want to jump to conclusions. And you know, my gut told me it might be something funky, and I felt like I should tell you. I'm assuming this is a very close friend.
Yeah, no, super
yeah,
close
yeah,
friend.
yeah, yeah.
Let's say close friend.
So yeah, I would want to tell them, but I would also couch it in a very strong assertion of like, this is just a suspicion.
Yeah.
I have no real evidence, and I felt like I should share it with you.
Yeah.
And don't you get crazy, my friend.
Yeah.
You know, don't assume this is correct, but also like what's going, like, is there anything else? Have you noticed anything?
So essentially, you wouldn't intervene in the couple, and you would tell your friend something.
Right.
Okay.
Probably. Unless I saw them again. I don't know. Like, to me, it's so contextual of like, what have I seen in their relationship up to this point?
Well, because you don't know.
Right.
Yeah, because you're in the dark.
Yeah.
So that's what makes this sort of a dilemma. If you saw them like fucking, you know, that might change the thing, but you don't know what's going on.
Ooh, that's an interesting approach from Kurt and Raskol. Just be like, don't even put anything on. Just be like, oh, I saw your
Wife while I was at dinner.
your
I
wife
like
was
that
at dinner
one.
with a friend. Isn't that funny? And then see if they go like, wait, they were at dinner with who?
Kiara,
And
I
then-
like Kiara's.
Another way to go.
And yeah, so some would say like being a good friend is doing something. Some would say being a good friend is not doing anything. It really depends on where your morals lie. So this is more of an issue of morality as opposed to ethics.
Yeah.
Follow them, stalk them. Some people have answered that to this question. Like, I would
Like,
follow
follow the
them
couple
out
out
and
of the
see what the
restaurant?
fuck they're doing.
Eh,
If they start,
interesting.
you know, hooking up in the car, I want to see.
I didn't consider that a deeper investigation.
A deeper
on the
investigation.
night.
Anything that you can do, you can do.
Okay.
Okay, so that's the cheater.
I
And
would
we-
do that. I'd hang around.
Do we have any other things before I delete this?
No, I think I might
Okay,
go.
so I'm going to make the other one bigger.
Cool. Behold, Zoe
What have I done?
typo.
Was I before E except
The office
after...
thief.
I before E except after thee. It's I before E except after thee.
Well, you know, maybe this is about a like magical creature called a thief
Office.
that lurks in offices.
Wow. Okay. So, you are in charge of the petty cash at work.
My dream.
Your boss asks you if the increase...
I was in charge of the petty cash
Were
at my
you?
last job on the TV show. Yeah.
Oh, shit.
'Cause
Yeah,
I was a
you
writer's.
were.
I was a writer's PA, so I was in charge of the petty cash.
You sure were. So you're
I was
in charge,
masterful.
You're in charge of the petty cash. Your boss asks you if the increase in the petty cash is enough. But wait, the petty cash hasn't increased. Turns out your coworker has been pocketing the extra money. But your coworker is poor. Your coworker doesn't make enough money at this job. They're pocketing the extra petty cash, and you're pretty certain that they're using it on something they need. Do you report it? Do you report the coworker? Do you lie? Do you do nothing? What do you do?
I'd probably do nothing under the current social context and under capitalism. Yeah.
Would you guys rat on your coworker?
Unless, I mean, like, The only issue is then you could, if it gets found out and you haven't said anything, they'd be like, "You were in charge. Why didn't you say some cash was missing?"
Well, that's a big one. You're in trouble.
Well, then I guess I might go to the person who's taking the cash and be like, "Hey, I totally get it. I think it's ethically right. Fuck capitalism. Fuck this company. Fuck the boss." And I'm gonna tell them that cash is missing. I'm not gonna snitch on you, but to cover my butt so that I don't get fired, I'm gonna tell them that like for some reason cash is missing, and so I just say like you have to stop, and you won't get caught because I won't say anything. There's no way for them to find out, but like yeah, that covers all of our asses.
Yeah.
And let's see if we can figure out another way you could embezzle from this horrible company that neither of us will get caught for.
So Kiara brought up, I'd say I want to get in on the money. So I've heard people answer this question with, I'd blackmail them.
Wow.
Yeah. I've heard people genuinely say,
Saucy.
I'll blackmail them. I'll say, if I don't get a cut, I will tell on you. And if I do get a cut,
Yeah, I guess, because I guess then if ever like you needed more petty cash, like if there wasn't enough petty cash, you could just take it out of your pocket and feel like, oh, this is just some of what I took. Because I was thinking like down the line, it might be like, well, what if you need petty cash more than the old amount to get the thing, and then you don't have it? But yeah, you could just then go out of pocket and be like, this makes sense.
Jay says, I don't care, I tell on them. But yeah, I mean, what is the right thing to do here is it depends. A capitalist would tell on them.
Oh yeah.
Someone who's like, the business, the sake of the business,
Yeah.
would tell on them.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it really depends. It really depends on how you feel about the person. It depends on how you feel about the money that's being stolen.
If we were in an alternate world where we lived under an economic system that was ethically defensible, then I probably would tell on them. And also in that world, if this is like magic, ethically defensible world, the punishment for that action would not be insane. So in that scenario, I'd totally tell on them.
Yeah.
But under the boot of oppressive, corrupt capitalism, no, I'd be like, hell yeah, man, let's find a way to get away with this.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and Fox says if you see someone stealing bread or baby formula, you don't say shit. Same principle.
Yeah.
Yeah. Love that. All right, moving on. And we can do more if we like these. Okay. The crime. This one's a little dark. I'm gonna make it a better color.
Make it a better color.
Make it a better color. There we go.
Nice.
All right, this is my favorite. Your friend tells you that they have committed a crime.
Not a crime.
Oh, it's a juicy one.
Juicy.
They said that they can't handle the guilt and they have to tell someone, and they only trust you with the secret. You are shaken by the crime that they've committed, but they said you are the only person that they can trust not to tell anyone this secret. The next day, someone else gets arrested for your friend's crime. What do you do?
I think first I go to my friend.
Hi, Keswick.
Hey, what's up, Keswick? Well, and I think Keswick, in this premise, the line, you are shaken, is meant to convey that this crime is a crime that to you is like horrific.
So let's
Right.
say, let's do a couple examples. Let's say your friend, let's not get to murder yet. Let's say your friend stole like $1 million from, or robbed a bank. Okay, let's say your friend robbed a bank. Big bank, lots of money, tons of money. What would you do? Would you let someone else go down for your friend?
Yeah, if it's a big bank, and I hate big banks, then I would go to my friend and I'd be like, hey, it's not cool that this person who didn't do it got arrested. Let's come up with a scheme to exonerate them without exposing you. Like I'd slip and Jimmy it. For those who don't know, Slippin' Jimmy is a Better Call Saul reference.
Everyone watch Better Call Saul. It's fire.
I would apply I'd work with them to come up with some kind of scheme that we could reveal evidence that proves that it wasn't this person who got falsely accused without giving away the identity of my friend. Does that make sense?
Yeah, there are ways to do that. And Kiara and Jay both said blackmail.
Now, alternatively, if the crime was like something legitimately horrific,
Like a murder,
Yeah.
like a senseless murder, a bad one.
yeah, like they were like, oh, I killed a random guy in the street. Isn't that crazy? I'd be like, oh my God.
Now what would you do?
Then I probably would just turn them in.
Yeah.
I might, again, it depends on like what the crime is. If it was like really, really horrible, I'd just be like you've lost it and you need help. You're going like, and again, it would be nicer if we live in a society where people actually got rehabilitation
Yeah.
after being convicted of a crime instead of just being tortured to make everyone feel like we're big tough guys as a society or whatever. But yeah, I think I'd do that. And if it was a less heinous crime, but still something I thought was bad, I'd go to my friend and say, hey, you got to confess.
Yeah. Yeah.
And see if I could convince them that was the best course of action.
At the end of the day, and in a person, yeah. I mean, that's a big part of this. Is that do you let someone else suffer, regardless
Right.
of the crime? Is it worth letting someone else take the fall?
Because that would be my concern.
Yeah, exactly, Keswick. And Keswick, you said 9 out of 10 times.
Mm-hmm.
What is the 1 out of 10 time that you wouldn't turn them in? Like, what
Good
would the crime
question.
have to be?
Good question.
No matter the crime, I don't see how that would be okay. Just because I don't know the other person doesn't mean I can. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, I would
Petty
never
theft.
want to
Okay.
sacrifice the other person for my friend, and optimally, because like to me, there's nothing ethically objectionable about robbing a modern mega bank, because all modern mega banks do is rob people all day. And make money off of the interest-free loans that everyone gives them in the form of deposits. So I don't see anything ethically wrong about a big money hoarding monster entity being robbed of a teeny tiny fraction of the money they've stolen. So that's why I'd want to try to find a way, a scheme where I could protect my friend, who I'm like, yeah, sure, rob the horrible robbers, party on, Robin Hood, and also protect the person who's been falsely accused. So I think there are ways that, because I know the person who actually committed the crime, that we could leak specific evidence that would exonerate the person who was falsely accused without revealing the identity of my friend, who I think was perfectly
We
justified
got a real slippin' Jimmy.
to rob the robbers.
This is a fun one.
It's a fun one.
What
I see
if-
why it's your favorite.
What if the friend was like the love of your life? You love this person. You really would go to the ends of the earth.
So you're saying I fell.
This is the one.
You're saying I fell in love with a serial killer.
Yeah. This
That's a
is
tough one.
the one.
So I married-
You are so in love,
So I married an axe murderer.
but they fucked up big time. Would you still turn them in? Because you know what, guys? I don't know if I would.
Well, again, it's like, what do you mean fucked up big time?
Well, okay, let's
if they-
say this one is a murder. Let's say this one is a murder.
But why did they kill?
Let's say an aggravated, like, got into a fight got really bad, killed the person. Maybe by accident, but it was because of a fight. It was like, it wasn't like, maybe not premeditated, a heat of the moment murder, but a bad one. And someone else is going down for the murder that the person, I burped, the person that you love more than anything in the world would die for. What would you do?
Again, I think I would try to, if I love them that much and it was like a bar fight that got too crazy and they killed someone, I would probably take the same approach of trying to come up with a scheme that would get the falsely accused exonerated and protect my person I love from consequences for it.
So both
Now,
facts.
if the person I loved like herded a bunch of kids into a barn and burned the barn down with the kids inside,
The love stops there.
I would just turn them in. Yeah, I'd just be like, clearly I didn't know you. I've misjudged you, and now I'm going to turn you in. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a crazy one. Anyone else have any variations on this scenario? Mm-hmm. Also, do we want to do a couple more, or are we feeling ethicked?
Well, but that's the question, Keswick. Like, if she killed someone, like, if what if the person at the bar started the fight?
Yeah.
What if your loved one was at a bar, someone else picked a fist fight with them, they fought back, and the fight got so rough that the person you love accidentally killed that person? Like, I wouldn't say, like, oh, they just deserve to go to jail now. I'd be like, this is a morally nuanced situation, and I'm going to choose to protect the person I love from the current, and again, this is all in the context of the current legal system, in which I have almost zero faith. Because to me, handing any human being over to the justice system, the U.S. justice system, so again, specific context, I think they have to have done something really fucking horrible in order to justify handing them over to the U.S. justice system, which is a horror show. So, again, yeah, if they herded a bunch of kids into a barn and burned it down, if they're a serial killer, if they're, like a serial rapist, like, yeah, I'm going to be like, I'm turning you in. Because it's better for me, like, again, like consequentialist, it's better for this person who I love, who now I've discovered is a danger to themselves and others. Better for them to be removed from society for a while. Again, hopefully actually rehabilitated and not just tortured, which is what the U.S. justice system mostly does, or exploits people for their labor, turns them into slaves. Yeah, because basically, if you're turning someone into the U.S. justice system, you are turning someone in to become a slave of the state. Is what you're, and at least certainly in the U.S. Could be more debatable, like in a Nordic country, but in the U.S., if you turn someone in the U.S. justice system, you are like knowingly turning them in to become a slave for prisons. So for me to do that, they had to do something really bad.
Yeah.
And accidentally killing someone in a bar fight they didn't start, for example, or if they did start it, I'd see a little more justification. But if they didn't start it, I'd be like,
But you're saying
no,
this.
I'm not turning you over to
What
that
if
shit.
there was no way for you to exonerate the other person?
If there was no way to exonerate the other person, I would probably talk it out with them and try to convince them to turn themselves in. And and if they refuse, I might go turn them in for the sake of that falsely accused person.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big point of contention and debate that someone's dead. It has to do. This is another ethical thing. Is the value of human life?
Well, someone is dead, but it's not just about staying silent. It's about if I tell the authorities, then the authorities are going to do horrible things. Well, if I could trust the system to identify it as self-defense and exonerate them, then of course, then I'd say, okay, let's go deal with the systemic process and get this settled out and exonerate this innocent person.
Yeah.
The thing is, I have no trust in the U.S. justice system at all. I think it's trash. That mostly ruins lives and almost never helps anyone. So that very much factors into my position.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting stuff. And just for Kiara and Keswick, we'll do the trolley problem one more time.
If you kill someone and leave without calling the police, you deserve to rot? Like you deserve to be killed and rot as a corpse?
Like rot in prison.
Oh, rot in prison. Even if it's in self-defense? Always? What if you're a black person in a very racist part of the country and you know that you're not going to get treated fairly by the police and they might not buy the reality that it was self-defense? I just feel like it's kind of a morally narrow. Okay, well, yeah, if you're saying for you specifically, I get that. And I think that depending on people's scenarios, it's very context specific, context dependent. I think it's too absolute to say if you kill someone and leave with, because you said if you didn't say if I kill someone and leave without calling the police. You said you. To me, that's a really big blanket statement and very morally narrow. What do you think, Zoe?
I'm agreeing with both of you. I think, the U.S. justice system is terrible. I
heinous.
think I value a human life quite highly. So I do think if someone is murdered, whether it's in self-defense or otherwise, I do think some sort of justice is warranted. My biggest thing is if someone else is taking the fall, I will turn them in 100% of the time.
Yeah.
If
I get
someone
that.
else is taking the fall for the crime that the person I knew committed, like let's say it was like a woman who like got raped by someone, right? Like brutally raped and attacked, and she killed the rapist. Then I don't know what I would do, unless someone else was going down for it. Then I wouldn't let someone else, take the fall for
Totally.
my friend.
I totally agree.
But
And because Keswick, because when I said what if a person was black and they weren't sure they could trust the police and the justice system to treat them fairly, and then you said I'm not black, and so then I thought you were asserting that you were saying that view only applies to you specifically, and then I said like okay cool, but before you said if you kill someone, meaning like anybody, so that's what I'm looking to distinguish. Well, exactly, Keswick. But see, I think what you're operating on a premise and an assumption that the police are going to handle the situation fairly.
yeah.
The reason to not go to the police is because police are corrupt, crazy, killer assholes.
Yeah, so I mean, just to keep it as hypothetical as possible, let's say we're in a place where the United States justice system is fair.
Yeah. Oh, if the premise of the question is it's a fair, dependable, trustworthy justice system, then yes, I would absolutely report it and say, yeah, it was self-defense, and let's get this on the record. The issue is the U.S. justice system is deeply corrupt and toxic and destructive.
Yes, Fox, we can be lovers in crime.
I disagree, Keswick. I think it's smart and that it would not get people killed.
Look, I mean, this is the kind of debates that go on in ethics classes.
Yeah.
We had people like storm out of the classroom.
Sure.
When we would talk about these situations, because there are like, and that's what's so important about learning about this stuff, and why I did all of these situations, because it is so clear that there are so many different ethical principles by which we live that all make logical sense in one way or another. Like, there are some people who are fucking weird, but like for the most part, most of us have such completely different perspectives on the value of a human life, the
value of the justice system.
the value of the justice system, the value of lying, the value of all of this. It means something different to all of us because we all have different senses of morality. So what happens is you try to follow one specific ethical principle, one universal ethical guideline, and you will never reach the same answer as another person. And that's why I like existentialism, because that does speak to the fact that we're not going to get a universal ethical principle. So I know it's like you guys have a very different value here, a very different system of values in this specific situation, but this is exactly speaking to the point of why we need to learn these ethical principles so that we can sort of say, what is this that applies to me? What would I do in this situation? And why do I think I'm a good person, or I don't think that guy's a good person, etc., etc.
And again, Keswick, I think you have to be specific. It's very context dependent. It's not just a matter of killing someone. Why? How did the killing happen? Was it self-defense? Was it not self-defense? Who are you in the context of the social system and the legal system? So like if, a petite white woman is attacked by a man in a bar with tons of witnesses, and then she fights back and like smashes a beer bottle and stabs him in the neck, and he dies. That woman, I would say, yes, contact the authorities, get it on the record, because I feel like it is pretty dependable that that woman with those witnesses in that situation would be treated fairly by the justice system. Whereas if it was a black person who was attacked in a bar in a racist part of the country where all the witnesses were white, I would understand how that person might be like, I don't think it's safe for me to report this self-defense to the police.
Well, yes.
Now, if you just kill someone, if someone just
If
is like,
someone just-
I want to kill someone because I like killing, then I'd be
turn them
like,
the fuck in.
that's bad. Turn them in. Or if I did that myself and somehow also was morally astute, like if I was the person doing it, then probably I don't care about life, so I would never do that. But yeah, it's very context specific.
And I don't know if I think the racism in the country is a scapegoat. I think
Not a scapegoat at all.
I think it's
a reality.
It's happened so many times
Yeah.
where a specific demographic of people have gone to authorities in these situations and have actually been punished themselves.
Black people have gone to the authorities for help with these kinds of situations and end up getting locked up and beaten to death, left to die in their cells. Like, this is not a scapegoat. It's a reality.
And because it's a reality, and it's what's difficult is when we do hypotheticals like this, it's difficult to keep it hypothetical because we live in the world that we live in and we see the things that we see.
Yeah, and also, right, Fox, that also women have gone to the police and end up getting raped by the police.
Yeah. Well, we disagree.
We disagree.
And I mean, that's okay that we disagree.
Yeah.
And I don't think that you're wrong in saying that you would always turn the person in.
I do think it's a little scary that you're so obedient to the legal system, if I'm being honest. Like,
Yeah.
I think people thinking that way is dangerous to humanity. And you think the way I think is apparently dangerous to humanity. So, we disagree.
And yeah, I also think 40 years ago and now are not too different in the legal system for Black people.
Are you saying racism is over? I just want to be clear. When you bring up the 40 years ago, are you saying like 40 years ago that there was racism, but not now? I agree that wanting the family of the dead to know what happened would be optimal.
Yeah.
And I gave a very specific context. And like, I'm saying if it was a black person in a racist area who knew from experience with the cops that they couldn't be trusted and all the witnesses were biased against them, would you understand that person at least being hesitant to go to the police? Or is it just like, if someone's dead, go to the police. That's it. I don't know what yeah, Alabama Joe means. Is that a counterpoint?
It is what it is. I'm
It
going
is
to
what
keep
it
the
is.
peace
Keep
here
going.
a little bit.
Go for it.
We're doing the trolley problem again.
Go for it.
Keswick, I like you.
I'll get a little bit of iced tea.
But yes, let's not get too heated during
No,
clown
I don't mean to
college.
be heated.
No, I'm not talking about
No.
you.
Oh, okay. Got it.
I mean both of you. Like, just like in the conversation,
and I
in
want
the
to be
hypothetical.
well, yeah. I don't want to be heated, and I do want to be explicit.
Of course,
That,
and you've
like,
been explicit.
I do think that's wrong.
Yeah.
I think that Keswick's position is morally wrong, and Keswick thinks my position is morally wrong. So there you have it.
Okay. I'm not gonna debate granular logistics here.
Also, we didn't get an answer to the question about is racism over?
Racism isn't over, and I won't budge on that one. But anyways, for Kiara and Keswick, if you'd like to do this, the trolley problem. Do you pull the lever and kill the one person, or do you not pull the lever and kill the 5 people? If we want to do that. Otherwise, we can do more situations, or we can switch. Up to you. Okay. Are you grabbing something?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Keep going.
That might be all I have.
Oh, is that the end of the class?
Yeah, that's all I have planned. I was gonna see if I could find some more situations, but yeah, I don't know.
Nice.
Do you guys have any questions, chatters, friends,
Yeah.
family? Among the couch. Hi.
I'm gonna get a puff.
Okay, Casey's gonna get a puff. I'm gonna switch us over to Fortnite. So I'm gonna put us on our little break.
And also,
Yes.
great job, Zoe.
Thank you.
Let's all have a big round of applause for Professor Zoe and her fantastic ethics course. I
had
learned
fun.
a lot.
Teehee teehee. Vox. So everyone hang around. We're going to take a 10-minute break. Anybody who'd like to stay. We're going to play some Fortnite with our buddies. Anybody who wants to head out, you're welcome to head out. Tell your friends. Woo, woo, woo. It's going to be fun. And we will be back in about 11 minutes. So enjoy the break. I'm going to do number 1.
Cool.
Bye.